Hello. Hello, everyone. How are you? We hope you got that. Um, make sure we can hear us. Make sure check in. Tell me if you can hear me. Everyone, we're so happy to see you tonight. So, this is Conversations on Purpose. Thank you so much for joining us. And tonight we had to do a part two because last week, woo, it was getting really serious up in here. And so we just want to thank you. We want to thank all of you. Let me switch this really quick. So we want to just thank all of you for um okay. We got Bishop saying he's still waiting. All right, so we have one of our main guests saying he's still waiting because it's not going through. Okay. So now let me I want to welcome all of y'all to the Conversations on Purpose. This is a part two. Last week we were dealing with we had on here Bishop Charles Carrol, and we were dealing with him. I want to know if you all can hear me. Somebody tell me you can hear me, please. Somebody tell me you can hear me. I think we have technical difficulty. Somebody tell me you can hear me. Okay, you can hear me. Okay. All right. So, okay, we have Bishop saying he's still waiting. He's not getting through. Okay. Yeah, he's not getting through. So can we try to get him through? I sent him information. He's not getting through. So listen, everyone. So last week we were dealing with um Bishop Charles Carroll is definitely a community activist, and he's a preacher in Annapolis, Maryland, who the community really finds strength, pulls strength from him. And with Bishop Carroll, he's honestly a humble but powerful man of God. And the good thing is, the community, they believe in him. They believe in his work. They believe in what he believes in. I believe this year alone, it's probably been up to 16 funerals. 16 funerals where he buried young people, mainly young men who were dealing with violent acts, and but they call on him because they trust him. They believe in his faith. So we have him back here because it boils down to last week, please forgive me. Last week, Conversations on Purpose topic was I'm preaching, still violence erupts. Because we have preachers preach and people look at it like, yeah, but like nothing could happen to them. No bad thing could happen to them. Almost as if because they preach and they preach about God and they love God, that they can't be hit with turmoil. They can't be hit with tragedy. Well, it hit him and his family because his son was murdered. And so what we want to deal with is, and it has not been justice for it. So we want to bring him on. We have Minister Eric Johnson, and we have on here also, because we're doing an open platform, Patrice Johnson, good friend of mine. We love her, and she's going to come on also. We just want to have an open platform, open dialogue. We want to talk about, forgiving also. And Bishop Carroll, we're going to bring him on. Bishop Carroll and Minister Eric Johnson, we want to bring you on tonight, introduce you to the people. Okay. So, okay, as I wait for them and not repeat myself, um, as we, okay, so I'm being told they're here. Okay, the only person I'm seeing on this screen is me. Okay. Okay, I don't know what's happening tonight, but we're gonna get through this. This is what we do. All right, I see you. I see you. Okay, here we go.
Praise the Lord.
Yes, I
Praise
can
him.
hear you. Yes. All right,
Bishop,
here
how
we
you doing?
go.
Wonderful.
Yes. So here we go. I'm excited. I'm excited now, Docs. So Bishop Charles Carrol,
Amen.
Bishop Charles E.
Yes.
Carroll from Annapolis, Maryland. That's where he ministers from. That's where he had his ministry for years. Him and his wonderful wife. Then we had Minister Eric Johnson, who has been here on the show since the pilots. Amen. And so I'm saying amen like we in church. You got ministers on the line.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. So last week, we want to thank you for joining the show. We want to bring in Patrice Johnson. She's a good friend. Patrice. Hello, Patrice. Yes, Patrice is with us. She's going to join us in this conversation. We want you all just to get in where you fit in. And if you want something to say or whatever, just let it, turn your speakers down, Patrice, if you can. Turn your speaker down a little bit, Patrice. Your volume a little bit. So, Bishop, last week we dealt with we dealt with your son's murder, talking about the violence in the street. You as a community activist, a man that your community is trusting and your community drove strength from. Being on the news, dealing with the violence, stopping the violence and conveying to the people that we need change. We need to do something about the violence. And then having to come right back on the news. And thank you, Dr. Miller, saying last week was a great show. Yes, we did have a lot of great reviews from last week's show. Thank you for joining tonight. So Bishop, and then having to come back on the news to talk about your own son's unfortunate death. And we talked after the show. I know that there are a lot of things we probably can't say because the case is still active and is open. But one thing we did discuss was that when you do actually face the killers, that you want to tell them that you forgive them. So, Bishop, can you please elaborate on that? Because we know that a lot of people, it's hard for a lot of people just to forgive someone for stepping on their toes. So, let alone forgiving someone for something as tragic as what happened with you and your family concerning the death of your son, the murder of your son.
Yeah, I know being a Christian, we have to forgive no matter what. And I would like to meet them one day and just look in their eyes and tell them that I do forgive them, because I know that they will fail too. As young men, to take a person's life, something definitely has to be wrong with you to do that. When you don't value your own life, it's hard for you to value someone else's life. If I don't forgive them, I hold myself for the rest of my life. And as tragic as it was, and as it is still today, 4 years later, we're getting closer to getting justice, and we know who the people who did it, and I know their families. I buried members of their families, and their families know too. So that day is going to be it's not going to be a win for nobody. It's not going to be a win for me or a win for them. You know what I mean? Because two families have been broken and have been torn up because of this. Now, I don't know if his mother going to forgive him, but I know that as a man of God, I have to forgive him. In order to walk in freedom myself, because I found out when you hold other people, you hold yourself. And I do want justice. I'm not saying I'm going to forget, but I have to forgive them in order to release myself. So when I give them forgiveness, that means I get released myself, because as long as I hold them, then I'll hold that bitterness, that malice, that anger, and all that in my heart. We just met this week about this case, and this case is almost getting ready to be go to court. Hopefully within the next year, we might get some justice with this. The people who we believe did it. I used to have to go through the dollar store line. I used to have to look at the boy's mother, in her face, and it took everything in me not to say, hey, did you know your son killed my son? You know what I mean? And these people that I know, you know what I mean? Actually, the person who actually set my son to be killed was actually his cousin, you know what I mean? And didn't even know it, you know?
Yes.
Like, you know, and it's a terrible thing. And I had to walk by them and even forgive them because I would see them from time to time. And in my mind, I was wondering what they thinking because everybody in the streets know who did it. So they have to know too. And I could see the guilt over their face sometimes. You know, and I do want to forgive them. I do want to see him. I do want to have a talk with him and just say, you know, what was really going on with you when you decided to do that, you know? So that's kind of where I am with that, you know? I mean, I have to walk in forgiveness. It's a hard thing. It's been 4 years. We just had a meeting on yesterday, 2 days ago, about the case. It's the most high-profile case in the city of Annapolis. And we're not only fighting, we're fighting racism in this too because the evidence was there, but because the state's attorney in the county that we live in, that Black Lives Matter, and the systemic racism that flows in the justice system. And now we have a Black chief of police who is fighting to make Black lives really matter. Because most of the cases in our city that have not been solved, 90% of them are Black boys, you know, Black men, Black and brown people.
Yes.
So we see the racism that's even in the system where they don't want to prosecute our cases, even with sufficient evidence.
Yeah.
But we have decided that we're not going away. And so, you know, I forgive them. I don't forget, but I forgive them because they took something from me that I would never, ever get back. Every time I look at his kids, you know, it's rough. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
You know, we're there. So, but I want to be free because if I hold them, I will never be able to be free. You know, I don't live in the graveyard. My son is in the graveyard. I'm not in the graveyard, but his mother tends to be in the graveyard a lot. But, you know, I want to be free.
Yes.
Bishop.
And that's a serious point because I'm about to say something. Because that's what it does. Someone mic is too loud. But that's what it does. It helps to free us. And when we hold into that's so much bitterness, and that's harsh stuff. And that could bring about hate and of course resentment and all that stuff. But and when we dealing with love, it takes love to forgive, you know, and all that goes back to God. And we need to return back to that. So let me ask you, Minister Eric, you were about to say something. Everyone, bring your speaker volume down a little because that's where we're having feedback. I just turned mine down. Yeah. First of all, I want to thank everybody for watching.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah. Eric, you were about to say something? We still have speakers up a little bit.
Yes, I
Eric,
just wanted. Can you hear me?
I just wanted
to. Okay, good. I just wanted to address the bishop, and we've talked last week, and it was a great and compelling. And in the forgiveness aspect, we can say forgiveness, but the streets want revenge.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to those young men who know your son and who want to get revenge on? Because the biggest thing is we have a life lost, but then the streets is calling for redemption for their friends and brothers and things like that. So what would you say as a community activist and a man of God? Because we have a lot of people that might be listening who don't know God in that aspect of forgiveness. You know, they haven't been taught forgiveness. They haven't come to know Jesus as their savior. You know what I mean? Because you definitely need that power and that relationship with God to be able to forgive on that level. So what would you say to them ones that are going out there and wanting to get revenge for your son?
We actually, you know, I'm dealing with mothers now who fresh in the last 3 months have lost their kids. And they just really wanted to stop. You know what I mean? They're not seeking revenge. They're not seeking nothing. And that's the message that we try to convey. Nothing that we do will ever bring our kids back. But if we can just cease it and stop it, and you know, that's what I was saying. And as I ministered a lot of funerals, I'm able to echo that sentiment. You know what I mean? We don't want no more lives to be lost, you know?
Right.
Because if I come back and kill you, then I'm just as bad as you killing me. And we wanted to stop. And you know, this whole thing with my son has brought me in the presence of great people. I now meet with the mayor once a month just to talk to him about strategies for the city. You know what I mean? So his life really is not in vain. I'm probably one of the biggest advocates on the gun violence side right now. I had buried 3 people last week, not the violence, but we have opiates. People dying of drugs now in a pandemic. Seems like violence has gone up. We had a 14-year-old boy. I'm working with his mother now, who's the youngest victim, about 2 or 3 weeks old. He was shot 6 times.
Wow.
You know, and his mother, and you know, she's crumbling right now. So that has become my ministry. And now my ministry is to go try to help her get justice. Yes, we want justice. You know what I mean? But we do forgive because we want to be free ourselves because we got to live. So we have to continue to just, you know, the streets do want revenge. But if the streets keep getting revenge, then it's going to keep going back and forth, and we're going to keep putting young men in the ground. And it's never going to end, you know? Nothing's going to ever bring my son back. You know what I mean? I don't have no ill feelings.
Yes.
Of course, I'm hurt because they took something from me. But at the same time, I realized the boy that killed my son, I know his father. You know, sometimes when I would see him in events and look at his uncles, and you notice they know what their kids are doing. And, you know, I had to keep my heart free because I wanted to, and that's a hard thing because it makes you feel so powerless when you know people took your kids, and for months these killers was out and they were taunting us when we would see them at places, and we know they did it and we still could not do nothing. And the justice system wasn't doing anything. I've never felt so powerless in my life, you know what I mean? Because I wanted to, you know, I'm like, man, something got to be done. But I let the law handle that.
Bishop, but that is also a message in itself. You know, you say you feel powerless and the natural.
I feel powerless.
But in the spiritual, you know, that self-control, because you're still a man.
Yeah.
You're still a man, so you can go out there and you can go and get a gun just like everybody else. But the self-control, and just like you say, what God has given you, the meekness and the self-control, not to do as the world would do, not to do as the young men out in the street that want revenge would do. You know, it's a place, and that's why it brings back to me asking you this question: do you have a team that, you know, you say you go out and you do this and you do that? Are you training, or do you have a team of people like a SWAT team, so to speak? I say SWAT team.
I work with a couple of different organizations who deal with a lot of the political stuff. I deal basically one-on-one with their families, like walking through the process. You know what I mean? Like I'm working with the lady who just lost her son, because after the funeral, after they bury these people's kids, the team really goes away. It is a dedicated people. And because we share the same loss, we share the same passion, I can almost feel what she's going through. So I call her once a week. I talk to her. I'm going to meet with the police with her to make sure that her case doesn't get lost. You know, because a lot of times these people don't have the strength. Everybody show up when it first happened. But then after a week or two, it goes back to normalcy and we are left. I mean, when I lost my son, I mean, crisis management didn't reach out to me. It seemed like they would reach out to me, but if you don't reach out to them, they won't reach out to you. And everybody's not willing to put the work in, you know?
That's a need.
They don't really get along because it's work. I mean, this is work. Dealing with grief, dealing with crisis, this is work. When you got to preach hope to people and their child has been shot in the street and you got to stand up in the funeral and tell them God is good. What is good about this? And then some preachers get up and talk about God don't make no mistake. God ain't had nothing to do with this. The devil did this. But we want to blame everything on God. Oh, God don't make a mistake. God got you. Yeah. What they're saying is because it hadn't happened to them. You know?
Yeah.
I don't give God credit for this because God don't take life. God gives life. This the devil. And when we trying to minister to families, we so busy putting God in it. Like, oh yeah, God, all things work together. Everybody want to quote scriptures until they sit in that seat. But
That's
when you're in
right.
that seat, you don't want to hear that. God ain't had nothing to do with this. And I make sure I let them know that this has nothing to do with God.
That's
This
right.
is, we live in a fallen world. This is the plan of the enemy.
Yeah.
God ain't got nothing to do with this. God ain't
Now,
down no killers to take your son.
now this is where we wanted to get to. Thank you, Michael Militant. Amen. Right there. And as a bishop, a pastor, and one who actually ministers to the community, a lot of people can talk. A lot of people talk, but they're not dealing with the families. A lot of people talk. They haven't dealt with the tragedy of their son or their daughter being shot down. A lot of people can talk, but they're not actually dealing with the people. You deal with the people, the community. You've experienced it with your own family. And that's what I wanted people to get. A lot of people talk about, what if God is so good? Then how he let this happen? If God is so. And the thing is, people are really hurt. But then you got those that are angry where it didn't happen to them that are still saying the same thing. So I'm glad that you're right there. And we're going to come back. We're going to stay right there because we're going to go to a commercial break. It's only 30 seconds. And we'll be right back. Thank you, Bishop.
All right, no problem.
Okay, thank you all for joining us. I want to ask the audience. I want to ask everybody who's listening. If you have, a lot of people were saying stuff last week. If you have a question that you want to ask, right now we really want to ask the bishop because this man is out there on the streets dealing with this stuff. If any questions you want to ask him as we continue to talk about this, we're dealing with right now as the pandemic is real, as huge as this is, there are things that cannot fall through the cracks that we do not talk about because families are dealing with this violence that continues on the street every day. You have single mothers and you have even single fathers. You have families that don't know what to do with this. Like the bishop said, that they just wanted to stop, to cease, without even dealing with revenge. Because like you said, revenge is like, you can't do eye for eye, tooth for tooth. You can't say, I'll kill you, you kill me. Because then that means it's spreading. More people are hurting, more people are dying. And the life of a person is not supposed to be in our hands. So if you have a question out there, please type in your questions. Antoine Burton, thank you, Pastor Burton. He said this is the perfect opportunity for the church to not only minister, but also engage the communities that surrounds our houses of worship. Not only prayer and witnessing, but also feeding the hungry, exactly, clothing the naked, and assisting the poor. See, that's what Jesus was into. Our handprint must be visible in the communities. And the people that I have on here tonight, thank you, Pastor Burton, because Pastor Burton is the one who's always, he's out in the street and he shows it. We've been friends for a long time, for years. Thank you, Pastor Burton, for being on here. Ask the Bishop Church, just show compassion for being there for the families. Ask the Bishop Church, do as far as
same thing.
Yeah, the same thing. Okay, so we'll let you ask, but we want you. Thank you, Pastor, for that. Anybody else have any comments out there? We want to be able to read your comments. That's what we wanted to do this week. Be able to read your comments. Okay, I will not read on there because my eyes ain't gonna handle me trying to read, But as far as the private chat, but if you have any questions right now, any comments, please chime in. Our young people, our young people are in crisis. mode. Okay, we have to deal with that. School is starting. They don't know whether we don't know what they're dealing with. They are dealing with depression, confusion, anxiety, not know what's going to happen. So far they've been away from their friends. To young people, their friends matter. I'm just saying. So we don't know how have they been acting out or going to act out and all of that stuff. So there's a lot we're trying to deal with tonight or bring up tonight, and we'll just continue. But we have to have these conversations on purpose if we're going to ever get to our true purpose. So, Bishop, back to what they're saying. What would you say to the parent of the kids who are the ones who are doing who are violent children, who are acting out in a violent way? Because you don't have a child and say, I want my child to be a robber. I want my child to be a murderer. I want my child to be a rapist. I want my child to be a drug addict. So what would you say to the parents? Because this is
well, the first thing is that we have to really be honest, and a lot of these parents know when they see their kids coming in with all this nice stuff, their kids standing on the corners, their kids selling drugs, they know what their kids are doing. And until we as African American people and Black mothers really be honest about what our kids are into, we're going to continue to have this problem.
Yeah.
See, they can't fix our problem. I mean, I told the mayor, I said, every time you get up in front of somebody dying, you keep apologizing. What are you apologizing for? You're not really killing nobody. You didn't create this problem. This problem was here before you got here.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in the African American community with these Black mothers, they know what their kids are doing. And sometimes, in some instances, they know their kids out there in the streets.
Yeah.
And we have to deal with that. Before my son was killed, his mother called the police on him. They had a warrant for him, and she called the police, and she was doing everything she could to save his life. You know what I mean? So that he wouldn't put himself in harm's way. And some of these mothers are just turning their heads, and that is the reality of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That these kids are running around with no parents.
Yeah.
We have a parenting problem. We have a real parenting problem where people are turning their heads, and they know these kids got guns, they got money, they got drug money,
right.
They got tennis shoes, they ain't working nowhere, they got chains on, they got rings on. I mean, they know they're not providing this stuff.
Yeah.
Society has created that. They got Jordans, $200 shoes, and all of that stuff. So I think culture too drives this stuff. One thing that you can't have and not really wanting to pay the price to get it. And our kids are shortcut.
Yeah.
And the killers and the people who are toting guns are getting younger and younger. And they're in our communities. People already going through with the pandemic. People already going through with poverty. People are already angry. So if you put some guns and some weapons and people already tripped out, what do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah, that's right.
If I get a gun, I'm getting it because I'm gonna use it. If I'm put in a position to pull it, I'm gonna use it. You only get a couple of seconds. I don't own a gun. When I chaired the gun violence committee of the Anne Arundel County, we were fighting against the NRA guys who got a whole stockpile of guns, weapons, and ammunition in case a war break out. You know what I mean? I don't own a gun. Why? Because I never ever felt unsafe.
Yeah.
Because if I get a gun, that means that if I'm put in a position, I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Because it's like a young
Bishop,
person.
got a question.
Gives them power. So if they get the gun and they pull it, their buddies over there, they got 5 seconds, they're going to have to use it.
Mm-hmm.
But without the gun, you don't have no power. It's like a police, like I told you last week. A police officer without that gun, he ain't talking trash. But because he got that gun, he got that stick, his testosterone he's doing more than what to do.
Yeah, it's posture.
I always talk about the elephant in the room. Even when I minister, we gotta deal with what's going on with us as a people that we've gotten that far where we devalue our own life.
Yes.
If I don't care about my own life, why should I care about yours? If I don't think I'm gonna make it to 30, do you think I care about whether you're gonna make it to 30?
Oh, yeah.
And these kids, I mean,
Yep.
you know,
And that's what we're dealing with.
we don't own no gun factories, but these weapons are in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And the mothers got to deal with it. They only want to deal with it when their kids got killed, and everybody want to come like they didn't really know nothing. But the whole time they were turning their heads and they knew what Pookie was doing.
Yeah.
You know, you know, we got to deal with that. It starts at home. Our structures in some of these communities are broken up. You know, the family's in trouble. And until we fix the family, you can pour all kinds of money, you can get all kinds of programs, but if these kids got to go back home to this broken situation, then you undo everything we do.
Yeah.
And it's a 24-hour, 7 days a week job. Being a father is more than just sending some money or buying some shoes or, you know, buying a chain or whatever. It is presence.
Yeah.
And a lot of these young men don't have no presence. They got mama, but they don't have no male voice. The lion is not in the jungle no more. And there's a jungle out there. And so, you know, we got to deal with it. Like, you know, if you got to educate your kids, you got to talk to your kids. If you know that it's jumping off down there, I sit and talk. I got 2 more boys. I talk to them every night about their value and about process of association and about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. You're not even, you're a good kid, but you, because you want to say how you like me now with your boy down there selling drugs all day long, and you know what he's doing. A drive-by come by, and the innocent person always get killed.
Yeah.
The rapper, I buried the rapper. He riding with his friend, giving his friend a ride. The people come up on the side of the car. His friend ducked, and the bullet hits him in the head. Now he dead, and it wasn't even for him, but he had the wrong person in the car.
Yeah.
So who you associate with can get you killed. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
So it's a important thing. It is. We got these mothers, got these kids. Some of them got multiple kids, and they off the chain. They out of control.
Yeah.
And the mayor keep coming every time he come. I told him one time. I said, "Look, Mr. Mayor, stop apologizing all the time. You know,
right?
I mean, you know, we got to speak truth to power because we have made so many excuses for people of why they can't get up. I'm from the hood. I'm from the projects,
and that's the key here. I love it.
I come out you can't tell me you can't get out the hood. I was 3rd generation in the hood. So I don't hear that. I don't even buy that excuse. I ain't looking for no handout. I'm looking for a hand up. With God, all things are possible.
That's it.
Don't tell me about I'm hood all the way. Right from the product, right from the bread truck, and milk and cheese and all that.
So Bishop Hood.
Food stamps, all that. So don't tell me what God can't do.
All right now.
So Mr. Hood, we got you back, Eric. So Mr. Hood, I'm just joking.
That's where I live. 1321, 1353. I was just down there yesterday doing some insurance business. Ain't nothing changed. People still posted up. They still ill and they still wild.
That's
you know
it.
what I mean?
What is the Eric from the hood? I'm from the hood.
I'm from the hood.
Trees, you from the hood?
No, I'm no.
No?
East side, west side. Guess that's the hood.
Well, I was from the. I ain't good. Well, I guess it was considered the hood. But you know how they say you can leave the hood, but you can't take the hood out the person. I don't know. I don't know. I guess you come at me wrong. I'm trying to take it all off and just go my nails off. So look, Bishop, you was on that. Be honest. That's what we say. Tell them, be honest. Now listen, if you all have questions, type it because we're going to switch gears. What we need to do right here is change. We need change. They're talking about it all in politics, but we need change. We've been knowing it. We've been talking about it in the church forever. We need change. It's 2020. In the beginning, I was talking about, even wrote the song, 2020 vision. I see you, Tom. I see you, Lord. I see you, Jesus, because the only way we're going to see clear is that we see him. We can't see out, trying to see ourselves and take it from ourselves. We were made by his image and his likeness. And sometimes we don't reach for that. We want to just do what we want to do. And then we end up in a big mess. You know what I mean? So we have to do better. We got to change. We got to raise our kids better, do it on purpose. This is a conversation on purpose for us to do things on purpose and pay attention to just that little piece on purpose. We have to raise our kids better on purpose. We have to be honest, like Bishop said, on purpose. Where the truth will make you free. So when you be honest and you be truthful about what's going on in your home, about what you see, then that's going to make you free, because then you can deal with it. You know what I mean? So a lot of times, I know a lot of parents, and that's just how it is. I know a lot of us, you'll see your kids, and for years you get friends. You know they selling drugs, and you'll go tell them to buy you something. But in order for them to buy you something, they got to sell some drugs. You know what I mean? You got parents that turn their head from it. You know, you see the drugs, and don't leave them in the room for days and don't know what's going on. And then you shocked that they have made these plans to go and hurt somebody or whatever. Sometimes they are crying out for the love that's right in their own home. And those on the street don't know about it, but they're crying out for mom, whether they know how to do it or not. You got a lot of them in the homes, and they're never getting told that I love you, son. I love you, daughter. I love you. You know what I mean? So in their homes, a lot of hurt is starting there for whatever reason. Whether they're being molested. Do we understand that during this pandemic, how many more things are happening in the homes?
That's right.
How many more things that are happening to people? If you were depressed before the pandemic started, do we really think those that were depressed, the depression left when the pandemic hit? No. It's some things turning up on the inside, mentally and all kind of stuff. The suicide rates, I believe it doubled. Thank God people are calling for help. Okay. So when the pandemic hit, those that were sick, like me, I'm telling you, my health wise, I ended up getting worse because I wouldn't go to the hospital. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
A lot of things that were going on before the pandemic hit, it still is worse even now. If you were molesting, if you were being battered and bruised in your home, sometimes the biggest break you got is when the abuser left the house. It's when the molester left the house. Well, during the pandemic, I'm stuck in the house with you, and you're trying to find. So I'm being tormented with the fear. I'm going crazy. Let's go to commercial break real quick. And we're going to come back and talk about the things that are happening right now outside of the pandemic, but that's still huge, and we got to talk about it. Let's go to commercial. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Thank you. Yes, we want to talk jump in, get it where you fit in. So listen, so that's what we're talking about. During this pandemic, a lot of things have happened. I want to give Patrice a chance to come in. I mean, but she just said she'll come in, when she fits in. She'll just come in naturally, but we just want them to hear from you. Me and Patrice, we talk all the time. And before we started the show, she said, yes, we did. And a lot of times it's time for the clock out. But we have so much, we talk so much as sisters, but we talk about real stuff. And so before Conversations on Purpose, like I told you all, God gave me this like 3 years ago. I did 2 of them live at the beginning of January. So we didn't know that this was going to happen. We didn't know about this, about the pandemic happening and people are going to need, outlets or whatever to communicate. But thank God for this platform. But before all of this, we always talked about real issues. One thing we were talking about was during the pandemic. A lot of things, like I'll tell people, I've been really dealing with thyroid and low blood or whatever. And I've been really, 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 unfortunately, really ill, and it's really taken me by storm. It almost knocked me off my feet, literally. So because the pandemic happened, the plague. When it showed up, what I was going through didn't disappear just because the pandemic showed up. You know what I mean? But when the pandemic first started, how everybody was talking about all of that, do we realize how many things got lost in the pandemic? But it only got lost to other people. My ailment didn't get lost to me. I'm just saying, the person that was suicidal, it didn't get lost to them. Their suicidal tendencies, or the one who wasn't suicidal yet, but it reached to the suicidal stage. You know what I mean? During the pandemic, they were depressed, and then it went from that to now. Now I'm about to just go take these pills, or now I got to figure out how to get out of here because I'm done. You know, so that's what I want to talk about right now. People are dealing with issues that got even bigger. Okay, they had issues before the pandemic started. Well, those issues didn't leave because the pandemic is here. You know what I mean? So like they need encouragement for that. And guess what? For them it's worse because now we have the pandemic.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So it's worse. So we want to talk about that a little bit, and then that's what makes it even worse for the robber, for those who are not thinking straight anyway. You know what I mean? Who are selfish. And we don't need to get on the ones who won't wear masks and won't sanitize, you know, trying to kill us. But you know, so there we go. So let's go on the floor.
And with
Go ahead.
one thing about this pandemic, you have a lot of people who are suffering in silence because they're afraid to talk to people. They're in the house, like you said. A lot of people in houses, and the problems that they had before the pandemic, they're getting worse because now you got to stay in the house. You know, you got to do a lot of isolation. A lot of people not going out like they used to. So therefore, you have no choice but to deal with what's inside your household. And, you know, a lot of people are sick. A lot of people don't want to go to the hospitals, and, you know, because they're afraid. You know, they're afraid that they might catch it while they're out in the hospital. You know, for so long, I didn't want to go to the hospital because I do admit I was afraid. You know, there was so many people out, you know, out in the hospitals and didn't want to catch anything. But I thank God that I got the guts to finally go to the hospital and went to the doctor's office. And, you know, what I had to do was I had to tap into that strength that was inside of me and realize, you know, I couldn't walk around in fear.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people walking around in fear, and they're afraid of this and afraid of that. And we're talking about some saved people too, not just, you know, unsaved, but, you know, and we don't want to admit it, but a lot of people, a lot of us have them fears, you know, that we have to get past, you know, and I thank God because he's helped me to get past it because, you know, and like you said, you were sick and, you know, you're afraid to go to the hospital. So a lot of people actually getting sicker. Because they don't want to go to the hospital, they don't want to go to the doctor's office. So they're suffering all of the sickness and it's getting worse. And every time they cough and something happens, they get scared and nervous. And, you know, there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of that going around now because this pandemic is really no joke. And, you know, we need, God can be, you know, manifested in this pandemic.
That's right.
You know, this is the time for us to share our testimonies because, you know, we've been preaching and talking and, you know, us saved folk talking and preaching, but it's time for us to really be witnesses because there's some good that can come out of this.
Yes.
You know, God is showing himself, he's in control. And those who been healed from the corona, they need to share their testimonies and let people know that God is still a healer. And those who still have jobs, you know, God can still help you with your finances. He's still blessing. There's nothing changed. God is still God. You know, although things change, we say it's the new norm, but God is still the same God.
Right.
That's why we, you know, who have testimonies during this pandemic, God is still blessing. We have to share that to let people know that this pandemic is not all about negativity.
Right.
You know, there are some positive things that are happening during this pandemic.
Michael Miller said you better preach.
I'm just saying because I mean we looking at I know there are deaths
in the aspect. Go ahead.
Say it again, Eric Johnson.
No, I was just saying that's even the more reason to understand what what is going on right now. You know, in the true, I could say the true you is coming out in this pandemic.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you know,
That's right.
you know, God is bringing out the you. You know, and you were saying, Sister Robinette, before the abuser and all that. See it, you can't see it when people are passing, and you
That's
know
right.
now you're in the house with this person, and you really see that I really don't like you. You much less
Mm-hmm.
love you. So all these things is being revealed now, and
Mm-hmm.
even in the aspect of the church, you know, a lot of things is being revealed in the church now. You
Yeah.
know, in this time of isolation, in this time of God is saying, okay, what you going to do now?
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
You know, that's the question. What are you going to
Yeah.
do now? You know, and what Bishop was saying is still out there, and that's the call of the church to be out there. You know,
That's right.
not
Yeah.
inside the four walls, and yeah, we gotta have church, but it's being out there. He said, go out and make
Mhm.
disciples. You say
Mm-hmm.
stay in,
Mhm.
you know, but we got to understand what God is still doing in the midst of all this turmoil and the things that's
That's
going on. He's looking for the church to come out and
that's
assist people like the good bishop here in
yeah.
this plight of revitalizing and
Yeah.
energizing the communities, and you know,
Yeah.
and bring that compassion and hope back to the communities. You
Yeah.
got people like Bishop that's out there and running, and that's why I asked the question: does he have a team? And you know, the church should be the team,
That's right.
not just
That's
sitting back and just talking about all the good stuff from the good Bible, but
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
demonstrating and executing what the Bible says.
Yeah.
That's right.
I want to say that Bishop, thank God, he is a demonstrator. And what I love about him is whether a whole team come with him or not, or go with him or not, he's going. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And thank God for
Mm,
him and his wife. What I love is we have should be next week. We have another friend that's coming on, and with the whole section he deals with is that he called it the city of hope God gave him and his wife. And so what they're doing, you know, the same thing with them though. Whether it's a team or not, he's going to go out and build the youth center and go out
that's
and
it.
do whatever. Because what happened if not, I'm the same way. If not, whether you rolling with me or not, first of all, I'm going to unify myself with what I believe in God, my Creator. Because where there's unity, there is strength. That's whether you're a gang, whether you're Oprah, whether you're this, that. That's why when you even see crazy stuff happening, you can see them go in droves and still mess up a
Hmm.
whole bunch of stuff because there's strength in numbers. Well, where there's
That's
unity,
it.
there's strength. So first, I'm gonna unify myself with Christ because that's who I trust and believe in. That's what's that's what's taking. I need to ride on that. Okay, and then
That's
I'm
the
going
real
to
key.
myself. That's it.
That's
Unify
right.
myself with everybody else. Because the reason for this show, everybody, is for us to have conversations intentionally, conversations
Mhm.
on purpose to end up bringing out stuff that we don't usually talk about
Mhm.
or the norm. And one thing we don't talk about is how I'm going to say this now because we about the time is almost up, and I want to get this out. The pandemic, you know, for those who I'm always every time I make a call for a bill, yeah, I'm still paying bills. Every time I make a call for a bill to pay a bill or speak to anybody, I'm thanking them for their services.
That's
And I'm telling them all to be safe and trust God. Whether you believe them or not, I'm just gonna say it. You can hang up, whatever. But I'm thanking them for their services. Um, and then but what I want to do with this, a lot of people, you know, it's a good thing for a lot of good things have happened. People have got money that they never would have seen. I'm just
mhm.
saying. I'm just telling the truth. And so it's sad for those. You know, I got a lot of phone calls. I got text messages of people that I love and dear to my heart who passed away because of the COVID-19. And then some who just passed away because of actual tragedy, but during this time. I remember saying, I don't want to cry no more. I don't want to cry anymore. Like, oh my God, this is crazy, right? But it's crazy because I can look at even testimonies of my own testimonies of things that happened for me during this time.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna tell a whole lot of it. There was a lot to tell. But like Patrice said, a lot of us have testimonies with things that have happened. I feel like those of us that will embrace goodness, those of us that will embrace greatness, those of us who will embrace God, okay? Because we need to embrace love. We need to return back to love in
Yes.
this moment and in this time. We're seeing hatred all around us, confusion all around us. The best thing we could do is embrace God with love, because you can't do it yourself.
That's
You can't do it yourself. Michael Miller said, I'm so thankful, Sister Patrice, you got over your fears during this pandemic. Thank you,
right.
Dr. Miller. Dr. Miller, you're watching the show. You're supposed to be on the show, Dr. Miller. Well, no, Dr. Michael Miller. Yes, thank God, Patrice.
But
You
no,
know, because go ahead, Patrice.
I wanted to say so many things that God, remember when we had to be isolated, when they shut down everything, God just shut down everything. He has that power. And if people really realize that God is in control of all of this stuff that's going on, He's in control. He, like I said, He's proven Himself to the point He's making me stronger. Actually, He's making me stronger.
Yeah.
You know, if you really tap into, this time that you have, if you would spend that time, get closer to God. If you're not with God, you can get with Him, and those who are with God get closer to Him. A lot of things can come about, with this pandemic.
Exactly. Getting
That's
closer to
so
our
true.
family.
My business, I'm telling you, this year my business has been better than it's been the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And only God could have done that. Only God could have, have you buying properties when they said the banks are closed and this and that, but God's still making a way.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about telling the testimony. I mean, that in itself, my daughter's going to college and even more. So many things have done, so many blessings done rained down on God's people
Mm-hmm.
because of the faithfulness and just having, you're blessed when you're connected.
Yeah.
To God. And I know that we can, it almost seems like a cliche, so to speak, but it's really true. And the only thing you have to do, those who don't know Christ, is just trust Him. What do you have to lose? You done tried everything under the sun.
Yeah.
Now try the Son, the SON.
All right.
Now try Him.
That's it.
That's what it's
After
all
the church.
about.
So I
Yeah.
have some announcements because we have to go off in less than 5 minutes. So I want to just say a few things. I thank you all for coming on here. I just want to say it's something because everybody on the show so far have been people who are have a relationship with God and go to church or whatever. But what I want to say is it's not for us it's not just about going to church, going to a building. We have to realize that this is a time that'll really let you know who you really are. And we always talk about a clean heart or I'm 100 or in prayers, give me a clean heart. And but the only way you'll really, I remember my brother said it before, the only way you'll know if your heart is clean or not is if you're tested by it, and it's during this time that let you see how much did you really want, all the stuff you promised you would do if you had time, whether it was a God or your family or anybody else. It's like, take the time. We're all these months in now and still didn't do things we said we would do. You know what I mean? Still not sitting with your family, eating dinner, still not, just you want to get away from them, which is sad. You know what I mean? You're realizing back in the day, we were in the house a lot of the times, I guess, because we were. My mom and dad had 9 children. So we were in the house having fun with us. So we were having fun. So pull the games out, pull the Bible out, right now, let's teach our young people, because your 10-year-olds now in 5 years will be 15. I said it before. They'll be 20 in 10 years. Let's teach them right now. You know what I mean? Teach them what you feel like you slept on before. Because even though society changed and everything is going fast in that way, and it seems like everybody keeps talking about, but you don't have to change with them in that way. Yeah, use the technology, but still teach your kids respect. You know what I mean? Use the change with the technology, do all that stuff. Get the pointy toe shoes and the big bow ties and the polka dots. But don't not teach the children respect. You know, teach them respect. Teach them to love God. Teach them that you don't know everything. You know what I mean? I don't know everything, but I have to trust in something bigger than myself. I have to trust something, and that's something is the Almighty, the Creator. Okay, so we're going to come back here same time next week at 9:00 p.m. And the guest next week will be a surprise against all of us, but I know who it is. I'm not going to say his name, but we're coming on, and we're still honestly dealing with youth crisis, but we're dealing with the hope. Remember, you can change. Smile on purpose.
That's right.
Have a better attitude on purpose. Speak to someone on purpose.
That's right.
Change your attitude. Change it. Be sweet on purpose. Tell somebody you love them. Start telling your kids. Start telling your parents, I love you on purpose. Tell God you love him on purpose. Treat people better. Do it on purpose. And then I have an announcement, a personal announcement. My mother is a pastor, Dr. Marie E. Bryce Hawkins, PCD Ministries. The convocation is starting next week, Thursday, 7:30 p.m. You can go on PCD Ministries Facebook and PCD Ministries YouTube. Next Thursday, it will be in the church. Friday, it'll be virtual. Saturday, we're doing a conversation on purpose for the youth Saturday at 2 to 3 o'clock p.m. Inbox me, y'all. Let me know if anybody want to come on the show. Inbox me for whatever reason. Okay, if you have something important to say, inbox me. Let's see if we can have a conversation about it. If it's too cuckoo, we might not. But however, and then Sunday, we have my mother preaching Sunday morning. Time is running out. Sunday morning, she's going to preach at the church. Inbox me for more information. 5:00 p.m. Apostle James Lemuel Spence from North Carolina is going to be here at PCD at my church, PCD on Garrison. 5:00 p.m. next Sunday, the 30th. 5:00, the convocation ending up. I want to thank you, Patrice Johnson. I want to thank you, Eric Johnson, Minister. I want to thank you, Bishop Charles Carrol. We'll inbox for more information. We're out of here. We have to go. We'll see you next Friday. Thank you, Tim, behind the scenes. Next Friday night, 9 p.m. We'll be back with Conversations on Purpose. Thank you, audience. We love you. Leave your comments. Subscribe. YouTube. Conversations on Purpose Talk Show. Type it in. Look at the show. I know I don't promote it much. Conversations on Purpose Talk Show on YouTube. Subscribe. We love you. Tell somebody about it. God bless you.
Amen.
Bless you all.
Advertise your brand, small business, or service with Conversations on Purpose. By advertising online, you will expand the reach of your business and brand to a wider audience. We offer various tiers for advertisers, from a single ad up to sponsorships of an entire episode with co-branded opportunities. Conversations on Purpose can also develop your ads for a small fee. Your ads will also be available to you to use on your social media accounts such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, in addition to appearing on the show. For more information, contact Conversations on Purpose. Thank you. Hey, Robinette. How are you doing?
Oh my God. Hello.
Yes. So you did it again. Yes. We got to work on this though.
I did what again?
No, you did another show.
Huh?
You did it. You've made it through another show.
Oh yeah, this episode too. That's not what you was talking about either.
No.
He's doing me so hard, but I can tell him everything I did. So y'all know he's trying to reprimand me.
That's right. Yeah.
Everybody, I know how to do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I will admit that part of it was my fault because I wasn't able to be here with you earlier today. But we'll get there.
So Patrice did leave a message. Don't bring her back in because she wasn't talking yet. You ain't pay her no mind.
I didn't see that.
Oh.
I was looking in another window.
Oh, okay.
Because I wasn't supposed to be talking yet anyway.
Right, you wasn't. And the thing is, I ended up telling her to bring you in.
I kept typing like, "Do you want me to bring?" And you didn't respond.
Yeah, and I ended of course that was my fault because I ended up telling her to bring you in. You weren't supposed to come in yet because I was trying to let Bishop. See, I love when Bishop. Well, I ain't gonna talk about the whole show with y'all.